Well, even though Albuquerque voters should weigh in on some important issues, they may not get to.
The problem here is room on the ballot. City Council wants voters to determine 5 big initiatives this November, but the ballot cannot fit all of them.
It's just a long ballot already, and at some point it actually does become a matter of, is there space on the piece of paper?
So let's talk about that ballot. It's 19 inches long and double-sided. It's full of 77 candidates, state constitutional amendments, and county bond questions, plus propositions from the City Council, this is in Albuquerque, to reduce pot penalties, a tax increase to support mental health programs and the homeless, and a plan to allow the City Council to approve and remove the police and fire chiefs. Those 5 issues are set for one resolution, and first it goes to Mayor R.J. Berry. If he rejects it, you won't get to decide on any of it. But if the mayor approves it, Bernalillo County Commissioners will decide which issues should make the ballot based on what they think is urgent and what the community wants. The rest could go on a special election ballot. City Council President Ken Sanchez wants to avoid that special election because it costs $500,000 and usually not a lot of people vote in them. Well, Governor Susana Martinez is against the plans in Albuquerque and Santa Fe to reduce the pot penalties. The governor says having pot is still illegal under federal law, and she thinks that's the way it should stay. She called the penalties we have right now appropriate, saying the plan to reduce pot penalties is about political moves to get young voters to the polls. The governor says these changes should come from the legislature so rules would be consistent all across New Mexico.
A watchdog group is pushing for the release of the investigation done that led to the school board to force out former APS Superintendent Winston Brooks. Brooks resigned Friday. APS agreed to a $350,000 taxpayer-funded buyout. The New Mexico Foundation for Open Government, also known as FOG, says the public deserves to know why he resigned and why public money is being spent to end his employment before his contract's up. APS has refused to release any information regarding the investigation launched earlier this month by Board President Annalee Maestas. She hired a private attorney to investigate Brooks after she says board members discussed, quote, a serious personnel issue. Sources tell News 13 that the investigation centered around Brooks' wife, but APS won't confirm that. Brooks' resignation must still be approved by the Public Education Department. FOG says the PED should not approve the buyout until the report is released. Well, there is a change this year for Albuquerque Public School students and teachers.
Yes, all of them have to sign a social media policy. The district has this new policy to try to keep students and staff out of trouble online. Remember, former Superintendent Winston Brooks found himself in hot water last year after tweeting out controversial comments about Education Secretary-designate Hannah Scandera, and a teacher there at Rio Grande High School was suspended last year after posting a statement on Facebook saying, "Furious, this teacher is going to kill some children tomorrow." The new guidelines are simple. If you use social media to disrupt the school day, you could get in trouble.
A lot of this is being written as it happens, but the point of this was to give some clarification and make sure people understood that our expectations of them are the same online as they would be in person.
All students and staff have to sign the agreement and turn it in. One state legislator who thinks over-testing is taking the learning out of our classrooms wants to see the audit results on the Public Education Department's scores for schools and teacher evaluations. Senate Majority Whip Democrat Tim Keller, Bernalillo County, made the request in a letter to PED Secretary-designate Hannah Scandera. Senator Keller says these scores have a significant effect on education funding, and proper audits are vital to gauge how effective teachers and schools are. Well, a middle school student here in New Mexico is in critical condition this morning after being struck by lightning. It happened while he was on the football field at Picacho Middle School in Las Cruces yesterday. 4 other players and a coach were also hurt after the lightning strike, but they should be okay. Las Cruces police say the teen is between 11 and 14 years old and will be airlifted to a pediatric burn unit. They say the lightning came suddenly and without warning.
Now to the latest on the possible Ebola case in Albuquerque. A New Mexico health official tells News 13 that the patient being treated at UNMH does not have all the symptoms you would expect someone with Ebola to have. The 30-year-old Bernalillo County woman returned from teaching in Sierra Leone recently. She checked herself into the hospital with flu-like symptoms, but we're told she does not have a high fever often associated with the virus. Her blood work has been sent to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta for testing. Results are expected later this week. Her name is not being released because of privacy issues. And questions are swirling in California, where a possible Ebola patient is being treated at a hospital in South Sacramento. Kaiser Permanente hospital staff is staying tight-lipped, and there is an increased security present. Kaiser released a statement saying that the hospital is working with the Public Health Division on a patient who may have been exposed to Ebola. Like the case here, the patient is in isolation and the CDC will be testing blood samples. Word is this morning that Community Health Systems is now contacting its clients whose personal information may have been hacked. The company operates 6 hospitals here in New Mexico. Community Health Systems owns hospitals in Las Vegas, Roswell, Deming, Carlsbad, Hobbs, and Las Cruces. The company says earlier this year hackers got patients' names, addresses, social security numbers, but they only recently discovered the incident and are now working to notify those patients.
Coming up on 507, in light of comedian and actor Robin Williams' suicide last week, more Americans are becoming aware of the issue of depression. A new Rasmussen poll shows 47% of 1,000 people surveyed say a family member has been diagnosed with depression by a doctor. 87% say clinical depression is a serious problem, and 65% think the U.S. needs to do more when it comes to identifying and treating clinical depression. 59% of people think families should be most responsible for detecting clinical depression and getting help for their loved ones. And if you want to find out more about it, how to talk with your family about this issue, go to CASA or go to CASA.com. Yesterday on 2CASA, we had Dr. Scott Carroll, a psychiatrist from UNM, talking about this issue.
Yeah, very, very important issue.